Okay, back again. Another episode of A Muslim and an Atheist Breaks Bread. At the moment, you've only got the Atheist, but don't let that turn you off to the channel, people, because, I don't know, just don't let it turn you off to the channel. I guess it's a weird one, and it man just want to know more about the world. I don't really believe in anything else, but I do believe in what's going on right now, which is a load of hypocrisy, a load of extortion rackets. Now, let's make this very clear. What we are seeing now is 101 in extortion. So, you remember back in the old days where you used to get like, I don't know, like from where I'm from, yeah? Back in the day, let's say you had a pub that was doing okay. Now, what someone would do is probably send someone in to go and bust up the pub, rough everyone up, make people think that they can't do nothing. Then what they do is they send in the businessman after to go, do you know what? What we're going to do is, we're going to, your pub's going to be okay, but we're going to do a deal. So essentially you're going to pay us to look after your pub. And that's what's going to happen. If you don't want to pay us, we can't guarantee you safety. So that's what it boils down to. You know, we've seen like people use these tactics from Capone to British gangs, the Craze. All over the world this happens. It's called extortion, right? It's called leaning on someone, putting your foot on someone's neck. That's what it's called. So anyway, I woke up this morning, say bang, yo, Trump's remove Ukraine from the intelligence sharing agreement. Now, first of all, if you don't know about the intelligence sharing agreement, it's actually called Ghost Stone. So you see a lot of things called Five Eyes, right? But, sorry, it's called Stone Ghost. Now, that program was put together, so like the Five Eyes, so it's US, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and then behind the scenes, there's private agreements made with other countries to say that they can share their intelligence, and you know. Now, what that actually does is, and by the way, this isn't the only intelligence sharing program. This is just the one that the Five Eyes used. Yeah, Five Guys, I'm hungry. So, but they're sharing things like real-time battle data, electronic warfare insights, cyber threat intelligence, weapons targeting support. You know, stuff that you're going to need if you're in a war, especially against Russia. Come on. Now, personally, again, I think this is just an extortion racket at this point. I believe that, I say I believe, but I believe or I feel that either way Ukraine goes with this, right? Either way, it doesn't matter if Ukraine bend down, kneel down, whatever. One, Russia are going to invade. Two, America are getting their minerals. Like, it doesn't really make sense to use these tactics with Ukraine. I feel a country at war, especially when I want to know the concessions that Russia have had to make during this time period. Because I keep on hearing about what Ukraine are going to have to give up, what Ukraine are going to have to give up. But what are Russia actually going to do? Because I promise you this now, while Donald Trump's in charge, right? And let's say he's in charge. We realize it over here. Don't think we're not fools. America's military might is far superior to anyone else's. That's why the Europeans don't really know what to do. Now, the Europeans can't really back, some of the European countries, let's say Germany, can't really outwardly back Ukraine either. Because their gas pipelines and that come directly from Russia. So what are they going to come out and say? Then you've got the French and the British, which give them credit. They're sticking by my man. But let's be honest, when it comes down to it, the brass tacks of it, Ukraine's going the same way Gaza's going. That's just what I believe at this point. I thought differently, but now I don't. I think America are going to do a deal, take the minerals, and then they're just going to let Russia do whatever they want. Donald Trump's ultimately saying that he does not want any military support of Ukraine, but he still wants their minerals. So he doesn't want to put the support in place. He wants the minerals, but that's not going to stop Russia from coming in. So we'll see what happens. Now, I just want to see what we're talking about in terms of this, in terms of Ghost Stone or the Five Eyes restricting, and also how is it that America can just decide to do that when there's 4 other nations, like sovereign nations involved? Surely they must have to go to some vote or something. Or is it just now Donald Trump can do whatever he wants, steamroll over everyone? We heard him talk about the British the other day, about random countries. Yeah, I'm not letting that go. Trust me, you're going to keep me hearing me talk about it. Yeah, all right, let's have a listen anyway. I want to hear about this.
Ago, coming together in fits and starts under 3 very, according to one alarming estimate, in forces without support from the United States. That's according to one alarming estimate in the New York Times today, a dire picture for an ally that the Trump administration appears intent on weakening ahead of any negotiations with Vladimir Putin. One defense official tells NBC News that arms shipments to Ukraine this week were halted in their tracks. The planes were turned back when the Trump administration decided to stop arming Ukraine. On top of that, news this morning that the Trump administration has stopped sharing intelligence with Ukraine as well. Here's National Security Advisor Mike Waltz.
Did the U.S. pause intelligence sharing with Ukraine, and is it still paused right now?
We have taken a step back and are pausing and reviewing all aspects of this relationship.
Donald Trump's CIA Director John Ratcliffe adds that that pause will, quote, go away, but it's unclear at what moment exactly it will take for our intelligence sharing to ever resume. At this moment, the Trump administration may have dealt a significant blow to Ukraine's ability to fight the Russians. The New York Times reported last year that, quote, the intelligence partnership between Washington and Kyiv is a linchpin of Ukraine's ability to defend itself. The CIA and other American intelligence agencies provide intelligence for targeted missile strikes. They track Russian troop movements and help support spy networks. The relationship is so ingrained that CIA officers remained at a remote location in western Ukraine when the Biden administration evacuated U.S. personnel in the weeks before Russia invaded in February 2022. During the invasion, the officers relayed critical intelligence, including where Russia was planning strikes and which weapon systems they would use. And both countries benefit. This is important. The New York Times adds this about the intelligence sharing between the U.S. and Ukraine. Quote, it took root a decade ago, coming together in fits and starts under 3 very different U.S. presidents, pushed forward by key individuals who often took daring risks. It has transformed Ukraine, whose intelligence agencies were long seen as thoroughly compromised by Russia, into one of Washington's most important intelligence partners against the Kremlin today. The end of intelligence sharing begs the question, why? Why would the Trump administration no longer need or value or want a relationship that yields valuable intelligence from Ukraine against the Kremlin? All aid to Ukraine has been stopped even after Trump revealed that President Zelensky had reached out to him in a letter saying he was ready to sign a mineral deal and pursue peace talks. One former Biden administration telling the New York Times this, quote, halting security assistance will only make it more challenging for Ukraine to reach a just and lasting end to this war. It will reduce Ukraine's leverage, weaken the Ukrainian military, and therefore undermine Ukraine's negotiating position with Russia.
This is what I mean.
The United States should be focused on.
I would like to know the deal that the Trump administration has done with Putin, because at the moment, to be honest, Russia aren't really saying anything. All I can hear is America talking about America are actually working proxy for Russia right now. And this is the sad thing about it. Whichever way you look at it, Russia are okay. you know, now Russia are fine. Some reason everyone's just put blinkers on and said, no, actually Russia are cool, man. Russia are fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to strip Ukraine of any leverage, any hope, any possibility of them even defending themselves. That's it. Until we get our mineral deal done. And even after that deal's done, I guarantee you there is no military assistance put in place in that deal. None whatsoever. So we know now that, we know from now, I'll tell you exactly my vision of what's going to happen. America are going to get the minerals. Russia is still going to invade. Still going to invade. And I guarantee you in the next 5 to 10 years, Ukraine will have to be under Russian sovereignty. I don't like that for it either, because you know what it is? It's not the fact that it's happening. Because again, remember, I ain't got no dog in this race, to be perfectly honest. Like, either way you look at it, it's not like I'm saying that, but I'm a human. So to me, when there's human loss, there's human suffering, I think, you know, we have to do something bad, but it has to be done justly. People keep saying, yeah, but just end the war. End the war for what, though? Wasn't it American who talked about to trade your safety, trade your freedom for your safety? You don't deserve either. That's me paraphrasing, because I can't remember who said it. Might have been Ben Franklin or one of them dons. But it don't matter anyway. Ukraine got no leverage, no real power, and America are just stripping them of it in front of the world, like continually, crazy. And they're taking it as well, man. Yo, Zelensky, fix up, man.
States should be focused on strengthening, not weakening, Ukraine's hand ahead of a negotiation. That is where we start today with some of our favorite experts and friends. New York Times national security reporter Julian Barnes is here. Also joining us, former CIA director.
See, this is when we're going to listen to the smart brothers talk about it. You're just getting my opinion. Listen to these people who know what they're talking about. Let's see if they agree with me.
Now, national security analyst John Brennan's here, and with me at the table for the hour, founder and CEO of the Independent Veterans of America, co-founder of American Veterans for Ukraine, Paul Rykov's here. Julian, take me through the reporting.
So we've known for all of this week that President Trump, ever since that Oval Office confrontation between President Trump, Vice President Vance, and President Zelensky of Ukraine, we've known that the White House has been angry with Zelensky, has been wanting to pressure him. And so first came the word that they were cutting off the military aid, and then today we had John Ratcliffe, Mike Waltz saying that they'd cut off the intelligence partnership. There had been some doubt. Some officials wanted to gradually ratchet up the pressure. Others just wanted more out of Zelensky. I mean, but make no mistake, this is the Trump administration pressuring the Ukrainians to agree to their terms on the minerals deal, on their approach to peace, which is different than the European approach, which is different than the Ukrainian approach.
Director Brennan, what is the consequence for Ukraine's ability to prevail or to continue to fight?
Potentially.
I'll answer that. It's potentially disastrous. How are they going to fight when they can't get weapons in now? I mean, I'm going to have to look up what Europe are doing in terms of weapons and how they're getting weapons from Europe. But I know there's some specific military equipment that only America can give them. Now, right now, we're going to be lucky if we don't see Russia just steamroll them at this point, because, as I said to you, Trump is just making it so they're just ducks in water, sitting there, waiting.
Support to Ukraine to confront Russian aggression has many different components to it. There are the weapons, there's the munitions, there's the logistical support and the technical systems that empower those capabilities. There's also military advice and guidance, and then there's intelligence. Intelligence is the lifeblood that gives all of those other components the capability to push back against the Russians. And so if you take away the intelligence, you're making the weapons, the capabilities, the munitions, technical systems, and other types of things enfeebled by taking that away. And so over the past, over a decade, the United States has been providing support to Ukraine to be able to build up its capabilities, but to again infuse their capabilities with the intelligence that we're able to obtain. And I must point out, this is not a one-way street. Over the past decade, the Ukrainians have provided a lot of intelligence to us, giving us insights about what Russian capabilities are. And so therefore, this extortionist approach to trying to get Zelensky to basically fold to the Trump administration's wishes as far as some type of peace arrangement that looks more like a surrender, the way that Trump is talking about Putin and Russia.
This is my whole point here. And I had this conversation with someone the other day who was talking about, yeah, but Trump just wants peace. I said, are you willing to live in a cage for your peace? Because that's essentially what you do. So people like to say, yeah, well, there should be no war, but what hill are you prepared to die on? Because someone coming into your country and taking your territory and taking your land is a hill that I would be prepared to die on, personally. So I think it's wrong for me then to say to Ukraine, yeah, but just stop the war and just let Russia have exactly what they want, because essentially that's what happened. This is not a peace deal, it's a surrender deal. Surrender so we can take all your stuff. And remember this, Trump is a Putin fan. Make no mistake about this. He's a Putin fan. He's a stan. So he likes what my man's doing.
Using intelligence as that lever really is unconscionable. It's appalling. It's not surprising, though, in light of the fact that this is what the Trump administration does, by threatening, by intimidating, but now also taking action to take away that intelligence feed that the Ukrainians rely on so heavily.
John, can the Europeans replace or fill the gap, or is the American intelligence product the more superior asset for a country like Ukraine at war with Russia?
Well, the U.S. intelligence community has by far the greatest capabilities, the most extensive and in-depth and accurate intelligence that's provided to the Ukrainians. Now, our NATO partners and other European countries provide intelligence to the Ukrainians, but it falls far short of what the United States is able to provide, because we are basically, again, the leading intelligence community. And therefore, I think the Europeans will try to make up some. They can make up some. But if you pull out the plug of U.S. intelligence, it's going to make a lot of these capabilities and systems go dark. It's not going to allow the Ukrainians to know the next Russian military operation or drone strike or missile strike. It's going to lead to civilian deaths. It's going to lead to more casualties on the part of the Ukrainians, because it's the Ukrainian military that relies on that intelligence to be able to allow it to understand how to confront and deal and counter the next wave of Russian aggression.
I mean, Julian, how does the CIA simply turn off an alliance like this on the battlefield in terms of intelligence?
I mean, that is a great question. It's really hard, right? This is relationships. This is relationships that CIA officers have built up over months with Ukrainians, that the Ukrainian intelligence officers that they know well, that they trust, that they have trained up, right? This kind of order is really hard for an average intelligence officer to take. Like, they have been part of this war. They have been very much helping the Ukrainians in their successes, helping the Ukrainians in their defenses. Now, to be fair, they haven't just been providing intelligence, they've also been training the Ukrainians about using intelligence, gathering intelligence. So the Ukrainians are in a much better position today to use what Europe has given them, to use what they can collect themselves. Now, nothing is going to, as John pointed out, replace America's network of satellites, signals intelligence, human networks, but they have been trained well. But you're right, this is going to be enormously difficult. And I think a lot of CIA officers are likely hoping that this is only a temporary pause, that that something happens to turn on the intelligence sharing again. Though, we do not know exactly what the Trump administration will ask.
Yeah, we
of the
know
Ukrainians to make that happen.
that ain't happening until they sign that until the mineral thing gets signed, sealed, delivered. And I bet the times have changed as well. Again, like I said, extortion, people. This is first-hand extortion.
Make that happen.